Yo, what time is it? It's, what? It says here it's time to make a video. Huh, that's weird. Where'd you get that watch from? I bought it from some guy in an Egyptian market. His name was Ahmed. Oh, he even gave me a discount because it was my birthday. It was really nice. Oh, that's cute. How much did you pay for it? I think it was like 700 Egyptian. It was 700 Egyptian, right? Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and other, it is that time again. We're reviewing a vlog. This one in particular is super interesting. The reason why I think it's so intriguing is because it's made by someone from a fellow third world country. One most people would assume is off worse than Egypt. Most travel vlogs are made by privileged Westerners, which is fine, of course, but I've always been curious what the experience is like for people from the other side of the coin. And this video answers that lingering question of mine, so when it popped up in my recommended tab, I immediately saved it and decided to review it. It's from a channel by the name Tayo Aina. It's from a channel by the name of Tayo Aina, which I assume is the man's name. Now, let's get into it.
I've traveled to multiple countries across Africa, but Egypt has never been on my wish list.
I already like this guy. Most people cream their pants at the idea of visiting here for reasons beyond me, but bro here knows what's up. Also irrelevant, but I do love his accent. It's so cute. And the subtitles too. This is lit. I appreciate you, dude.
I want you to fuck me, Jerry! Fuck me!
It is funny though that someone from Nigeria thinks that. Like, no shade, but as I said, most people would assume Nigeria and most other African countries for that matter are worse than Egypt, partially due to the embellished image of Egypt we sell, and partially due to the general stereotype that Africa is a wasteland. However, that is not the case. At this time, as things stand, the majority of African countries are better places to visit and even live than Egypt. Even Rwanda, who went through a fucking genocide in the 90s, not that long ago. If anything, they are on their way up, while we are on a 89-degree slide down. So even if they are not better off than us just yet, and even if they stay where they are now, not moving a single step forward, I have no doubt we will be worse than them sooner rather than later.
And this was because of the many videos I had seen online about how hostile they were to tourists and foreigners.
Customs here is intense. Literally everyone gets x-rayed and they poke through your stuff. They don't care.
I have done nothing wrong. You gonna show me your gun too?
I reviewed both of these videos he just showed. I'm just on top of my game, aren't I?
But nothing prepared me for how hard it was going to be to get here and also to travel around it. The first hurdle I had to scale was applying for a visa, which was the hardest thing ever as a Nigerian. After trying so hard and not getting it, I turned to a second option, which was to make use of my Schengen visa to fly to Egypt.
Okay. This part here fucking blows my mind. Why the fuck is Egypt hard to enter? For anyone, not just a Nigerian person. What reason is there for that to be the case? I can tell you a few reasons for it not to be. One, we are a shithole. I'm sorry, but sit the fuck down. You ain't that special. And two, we are a tourism-reliant country. Hello? Who the fuck cares where tourists are coming to you from? They're coming, period. That's all you need to know, and you should welcome them. And their money, as long as they aren't bringing weapons with them. Or drones. I know you guys hate drones. Now, I hate to be the one to go, racism! But I think that is the reason. Egyptians look down to Africans, among many other groups. A fact that is very ironic to me, considering we are almost at the bottom of every good list and at the top of every bad one right now. But hey, cockroaches survived and dinosaurs died, so what do I know, huh? They're generally racist and very not politically correct. I'm not really a huge fan of being overly PC. If you've watched my videos, or better, if you've been on the Discord server, you know that for sure. But there is a time and place for everything, and I do think a certain level of PC is necessary. A fact that is definitely lost on many here.
The only way this was going to work though was if I came in through Europe. So I took a flight from Nigeria to France to get my visa stamped and then flew back to Egypt through Italy. This journey took me almost 48 hours for a trip that was normally meant to be 6 hours if I was flying directly from Nigeria. This means that Egypt is easier for an European to access than an African, and that sounds very ridiculous to me.
It is ridiculous. Man, I mean, look at Europe. You can take the freaking train around the whole continent almost. There's also USA and their upstairs neighbors, Canada, where you can basically drive between the two. And even here in Africa, I know many central countries are easy to move between them. And then you have Egypt, the snowflakes in their sad little dusty corner of the rock, thinking they're too good for these people. It's fucked up.
Prior to arriving, I'd heard that they were not camera friendly and on no account should you bring a drone into the country. Everything I'm going to record has to be on my phone.
I wonder if the authorities are gonna start banning that too, if more people keep doing it. I mean, it's already started that they ban cameras and lights, but not phones. You'd think if the issue was recording itself, they would do that too. Hell, I have a DSLR camera, but I use my phone to shoot these videos, and basically any kind of photos I'm taking. It's just more practical, and it actually has better quality than my camera. But I'm aware that's a me thing, there are definitely better DSLRs out there, and everyone should be free to choose either option. But yeah, Egypt says no, and before you say it, I will not stop bringing this up every time I do a vlog review. One, it's fun, and two, if a new viewer is here looking for information before deciding on visiting, I want them to know this. This is the most important thing to know and the least intuitive. Scammers? Yeah, no shit, they're gonna be here. It's tourism 101. No need for me to dwell on that too much every time it's intuitive. But this retardation with filming, I think is exclusive to us, so I want anyone visiting to know beforehand, so they don't end up like Sonny.
On entering the city, I noticed it has a very similar vibe to Lagos, Nigeria, where I'm from, with people constantly in a rush to complete their daily activities. It currently has a population of over 10 million people and is the third most populated city in Africa. Due to this, Cairo, like many other mega cities, suffers from high level of pollution.
Big cities be like that. One of the many reasons I would really absolutely hate living in one, Egyptian or not.
And traffic, and this was evident on my drive from the airport down to my hotel. Everybody's just pressing their horns. Can you hear the sound?
A recurring observation in these type of vlogs. However, I am curious to know if he was as surprised by it as people from the First World War. Being from a capital third world city, I reckon he wasn't. He doesn't seem like it either. Hectic traffic that somehow figures itself out most of the time is a staple of the third world, after all.
I also noticed that most of the buildings look like they had been demolished to pave way for the roads.
That is actually a great observation. Most buildings here look dystopian by default, but he is right too. From the clips he included, I can tell he's on a bridge, and judging by the fresh paint on it, I assume it's one of the new hobby projects built by... The man has an obsession with bridges, and he has raised tons of buildings and structures to erect them, as well as a few he had crammed over already existing locations. But even before that, it has had a shit ton of bridges to alleviate traffic, which resulted in induced demand and even worse dams, but that's not the point of this video. The last time I've been to Cairo was like in 2020 or sometime around that, so not that deep into the bridge craze just yet, but holy shit, it was already insane back then. I remember sitting in a bus, going on a bridge, above another bridge, above the main road, down below. It was literally as high as most buildings around us.
I found a hotel to spend the night, and this hotel really had a great view of the pyramids, which I planned on visiting. The next morning I headed out, and the first place on my list was the Egyptian Museum. To move around Cairo, I faced another difficulty. Almost everybody here spoke Arabic. Is it plenty in Cairo? Traffic jam? There's traffic in Cairo? Okay. Traffic. And as an English speaker, it was really difficult to communicate with others.
That is sort of unlucky. I wouldn't say the average Egyptian has great English, but a fair share know at least the basics, enough to get around. Maybe it's his accent, making it harder for them to understand. I don't know.
So guys, this is the first place on our list, which is the museum. Yeah, so this is the museum right here. Apparently I was sent back because I don't have a ticket, so I only can't get a ticket now.
Wait, he's headed alone without a guide. I'm also pretty sure he was in a taxi alone, coming here and going to his hotel before that. I wouldn't recommend coming alone, especially if you don't know Arabic, but I definitely very much respect the confidence. This man has balls of steel, and he seems to be doing alright. He did his homework prior to visiting.
The Egyptian Museum is the oldest archaeological museum in the Middle East and houses over 170,000 artifacts.
While that is true, only a fraction of that stuff is displayed at a time, and I think they are switched in rotations. At least the less important stuff, the main attractions, always seem to remain on display.
So guys, one of the nicest things just happened. When I went to the gate, the guy actually said I look like an Egyptian, so they gave me the ticket for a lesser price.
Aww, that is wholesome. And yeah, he could totally pass as an Egyptian if he spoke Arabic. He's also low-key hot.
Walking into the museum transported me back in time, and I had seen multiple samples of these in Bible stories and on TV, but seeing them physically for the first time really blew me away.
Ooh, we got a history nerd here, don't we?
There were statues and mummies that dated back thousands of years all over the place, and I couldn't help but wonder what life must have been like during that time.
I don't know, but I do know almost everyone had cats in their homes. One of the few things that has not changed in all these years.
Egypt has a big place in history. When you think about the pyramids, when you think about how far the world has come, and it's really interesting to be here presently and seeing all of these things. There were also other structures on ground like ancient stone carvings with different drawings and inscription. It was such an amazing experience walking through history, and I enjoyed every single moment of it.
It is cool, to be honest. Place kinda looks empty too, which is unusual for that museum. That makes the experience all the better. He picked a great time to visit. He definitely does his homework, something we're a fan of on this channel, or he just lucked out. It's also odd that he didn't bring someone to translate and explain the exhibitions. He seems big on it though, maybe he already knows, or he just was there to take in the visuals and feelings, which is totally valid and underrated, honestly. Everyone is like, oh, you need the guy to explain and translate, but I personally think it's perfectly valid to want to just look at stuff. They're ancient and gorgeous, with or without context.
I wanted to experience more of the city and see Egypt through the eyes of a local, and for me, the best place to do this is the market. In every country across the world, a local market is one of the best places to feel the pulse of a city, and is always my go-to if I wanted to experience a place through the eyes of a local. On our drive to the market, I noticed something else about Cairo. There were cops everywhere, and we had to pass through multiple checkpoints at different intervals, which only added more to the traffic.
Yep. Current tensions aside, police and army have always been heavily present. You could say it's to show presence and thus inspire safety, be able to regulate shit easily, to harass people, or whatever other reason. They're all true.
I don't have any footage of this because I had to stop filming whenever we're getting close to this checkpoint.
Smart of him to try not to film it. He would have risked all his footage doing so.
Allahu Akbar! So I'm heading to El Khalili, which is the biggest market in Africa.
So he's following the same itinerary as basically everyone else. Though he is visiting alone, so maybe he did just get it from the other videos.
I arrived at the El Khalili market, which is a famous bazaar in the historic center of Cairo, Egypt. It was bustling with thousands of people going about their different businesses. Currently walking in the market now. I have no sense of direction to actually where I'm going. There were many Egyptian artisans and workshops involved in the production of traditional crafts and souvenirs. There were also shops built into the side of stone buildings, and looking around you could tell that this was a very old market. I was invited into one of the shops by one of the local traders. Okay, really? What's your name? Huh? Your name is what? Who? And even though I told him I was just making a video, he was still very welcoming and told me he loved watching Nigerian football. Oh, okay.
My favorite player is Daniel Abukashi.
Oh, that's so cute. I love seeing interactions like this. And yeah, Egyptians are crazy about football. And I refuse to call it soccer.
It was super busy and very difficult to walk through the market, so I decided to stop by and try out some local tea at a tea shop. The funny thing is, I don't know what this is going to taste like. I'm about to try this Egyptian mint tea for the first time.
Mint tea is fire.
I think I need to add some sugar. While sitting here, I met these Asian couples on my right who were also visiting Egypt for the first time, and I asked them to share their experience with me.
Aww, this vlog is turning out to be more wholesome than I expected.
I think there are like two sides of this place.
Yeah.
The good side is you can meet very nice people. The other side, there are so many of them trying to mark up all the prices and stuff.
Yeah, I can see your hand. I like it. You didn't hear?
Yes, and it was £300 and 30 Egyptian pounds.
From 300 to 30.
Yeah, exactly.
Ooh, henna. I love that shit. A lot of girls who visit here get it, and I think it looks great on her. Also, great job negotiating it down to 10% of the original price.
Listening to their experience wasn't really encouraging, and I was hoping that what has been said about Egypt from the videos online wasn't true. My goal still remained forming my own opinions as I went.
It sadly is. If anything, it's watered down. But here's the thing, this place is hella inconsistent due to the lack of rules and regulations, so experiences vary wildly. It is generally on the more negative side, but if you know what you're doing, with a bit of luck, you can have a wonderful time here. Will it be that way for everyone? No. And neither will it be that way for the same person if they visit multiple times. Not necessarily.
Somebody once said that a stranger is a friend that you haven't met yet. So interesting. So you guys should go out there and meet more people, learn about Africa. I wanted to try out some local food, so I headed to a popular eating spot close to the entrance of the market, and this was where things started to take a turn for the worse. And one of the problems with here is you just have different people just coming to meet you and touch you, and it's very annoying. Within the period from when I ordered my meal to when I wanted to start eating, there were at least over 10 people that came to harass me for money. I have traveled to many places around the world where there are beggars, and even in Lagos, Nigeria, where I live, there are also lots of beggars on the street. But in Egypt, the beggars are very aggressive. Yeah, people always hassling you. Just like as I was saying, people always hassling you, even at the restaurant. You just want to sit down and eat a really nice meal, and nobody just comes to you and stuff in your face. It was just the beggar now that was just touching me. I just checked it out. I was just sitting down here, and this guy just came to sit down beside me. And he's asking me for money, basically. I don't have anything. Don't worry, just go. Yeah. Being a tourist here, these guys just assume that you are a walking ATM and that you're just going to be handing out cash to everybody on the street. Even the restaurant owner had to get aggressive with the beggars, but they just kept on coming back.
This is actually the first time someone has brought this up in a vlog I've been reviewing. So here's the deal. As he said, they assume you, the tourist, are a walking ATM. That's a great way to put it, actually. Even though homeboy here does not look Western, it doesn't matter. You speak a foreign language, that means you're not from here, and therefore you're rich. Simple equation.
Quick maths!
And it is sad, and it gets annoying to just keep rejecting offers and turning down please, but if you do make the mistake of handing out anything to one of them, especially if it's a group like here, they will all come to you and you will not leave you until you either give all of them something or scare them away somehow, if you can. Also, I want to point out that it's not this particularly bad normally. This is just because he's at a touristic area, so they know to lurk here. Locations like this are hotspots for beggars and hustlers, but if you're just going about your business in regular areas, it's nowhere near this intense.
I also have to be extra vigilant and keep my bags and belongings in front of me to make sure somebody else doesn't grab them. And even filming with my phone was a problem because of how rowdy the place was.
Good call. It's becoming increasingly common as the economy continues to get worse for people to snag purses, bags, and especially phones. Be very mindful of that if you're visiting.
I want to try out Egyptian food. This is Egyptian food right in front of me. This is naan bread here. This is soup. This is rice. And then this is tomatoes too. Another problem with Cairo is it has so many flies. There are flies everywhere. But I'd never been anywhere that had this much flies. As you are eating, you are constantly fighting another war with these pesky pests. This is another challenge that I have to face.
That sucks, but I find it hilariously ironic. Through the stereotypical eye, South and Middle Africa is this disease-ridden, war-torn wasteland, and yet here is a man from the depth of that region losing his appetite in Egypt just from the amount of flies. Not even the piles of trash, the smell or sight of passing dump trucks, or the occasional roadkill, just flies. God damn.
I'd lost my appetite, so I decided to pay and just leave. I've given up on trying to eat this food because there's too many challenges. There's too many flies around, too many people harassing me. So I think I'll just leave now and head to the next location.
I would personally go somewhere indoorsy. Maybe it's my inner introvert speaking, but it's generally better to eat indoors. Less bugs, no wind, less people, less noise, food stays hot for longer, and the food is generally better in indoors restaurants. Open places like this do better for just having drinks and chilling than they do for eating.
I got back to my hotel very hungry and tired, so I just ordered Uber Eats and chilled on the rooftop of my hotel to catch the amazing sunset. While up here, I remembered videos I had seen online about a lot of creators who had visited in the past who complained about how difficult it was to film here. I also read an article online about a lady who was jailed for bringing in painkillers and another lady who almost got jailed for bringing in a drone. Doing some research, I realized that Egypt runs an authoritarian regime.
The current regime is highly paranoid and highly repressive. So they passed an anti-terror law, for instance, which is very wide ranging. And so many things now in Egypt can be considered crimes of terrorism.
And this is also a super convenient loophole for said repressive regime to just slap a certain charge on anyone they don't like and throw them behind bars. The charge, which you might be familiar with, is called joining a terrorist organization or some spin-off from that. There are also many other bullshit charges that I will not list. Just don't rely on any law to save your ass if you're here.
For a country who earns 12% of its GDP from tourism, this is really sad. How do you want to grow tourism in your country when you make it difficult for a lot of people to visit and document their experiences?
Now, 12% is already a huge number, especially for a country who has, or well, had so many other sources of income. However, that 12% could have been so much higher if the people calling the shots cared or knew how to properly run, develop, and advertise their tourism. And it wouldn't have been that hard either. Egypt is objectively a gold mine for tourism industry. You've got history, you've got cultures, spiritual icons like Azhar and all the cathedrals. You've got warm and cold beaches. You've got natural deserts, mountains, the motherfucking Nile, the longest river in the world. We could, hell, we should be making fucking fat stacks off of tourism alone. We have everything for it. We've got history, we've got warm beaches, we've got cold beaches, we've got culture, we've got the motherfucking Nile. We've even got some modern attractions. We have fucking everything. The fact that we make 12% of our GDP from tourism is not a flex as most people present it. It's an embarrassment. If we had just fucking decent management, just decent, not even great, we would be something else. But nope. Old bastards have to have their control. Like, this could not have been easier. Yet, they fucked it up beyond belief, somehow. Both the rulers and people, by the way. Everyone played a part in getting the industry to the miserable corner it is in now.
In the morning, I reached out to a tour guide who took me on a drive to the pyramids.
Odd choice to get a guide for the pyramids and not the museum. Maybe he's been shook enough by that point to get one. Also, the pyramids are overhyped.
I've been wanting to see the pyramids for a very long time, and now I'm finally on my way there. Guys, I think I'm gonna go inside this one, and it cost me hundreds of this.
Hold up. He said
Hundreds of this.
as he held a 100 toilet paper bill, implying he paid 10,000 for it, which is just 324 bucks. You may know a lot about history, but you suck at math, bro. Checkmate.
So guys, these are the two tickets I just got. One is the ticket into the general area, and one is the ticket for entering into the pyramids. Nothing prepared me for how massive these pyramids were. They look so small in pictures and videos.
That's what she said.
But it's only when you get to stand in front of one that you get to appreciate the true scale of it. This is really massive, man. I didn't even imagine that one block. This is just one block. The fact that these pyramids were built by humans thousands of years ago still blew my mind. Back then there was little to no machinery, and they were still able to accomplish this level of engineering.
Where there's a will, there's a way. This was a religious structure, so I imagine the people who built it had faith motivating them, not just a paycheck. And if we've learned anything from history, it's that faith is one hell of a motive.
So the strongest earthquake that happened here in 1992, and they lost 10 meters from the pyramid. And all the stones you can see on the ground are some of the stones that fell down when the earthquake was happening.
I wonder if they fell on someone.
A few moments later.
Okay, I did some research. I can't find anything on the topic, unsurprisingly, so I'm gonna assume hopefully they didn't. That would fucking suck.
The ancient engineering feats of building the pyramids are so impressive that even up to today, scientists still can't figure out how it was done.
Spin and a whole lot of duct tape.
So why were the pyramids built, and what was the whole point? Egyptian pharaohs were expected to become gods in the afterlife. To prepare for the next world, they erected temples to the gods and massive pyramid tombs for themselves, filled with all the things that each ruler would need to guide and sustain themselves in the next world, making a pyramid the largest and most expensive casket in the world. The first challenge was getting past the hundreds of people at the bottom of the pyramid, whose major goal was to take your money. I had read about this online, so I just became deaf to all their suggestions as I walked towards my major goal, the gate of the pyramid. Because of the size of the complex, which was really massive, and I was already getting tired, I decided to hop on the back of a camel and rode up a hill to get me closer to the pyramid I planned on entering.
Just narrow.
So guys, I'm walking into the pyramid now.
That's quite big. Impressive.
If you're very claustrophobic, it's going to be hard for you to come into this. There was limited lighting, and the ladders into the pyramids were chipping off in some parts. It gets really hot here. You can see I'm sweating. So if you're coming here, be prepared. My mind started playing tricks on me, and I imagined that what would happen if this thing suddenly collapsed on all of us inside here. And then I realized it had been standing for thousands of years. Why would it be today that it now decides to collapse?
You never know. The only certainty in life is that things come to an end, no matter how long, and that includes unfathomably ancient objects such as this. And when it does give in, it will take people with it.
I faced my fear and kept moving till we got to the opening deep inside the pyramids, which was home to the tomb of the 4th dynasty pharaoh Khufu. So guys, this is what it looks like inside the pyramid. I'm inside the second one now.
Don't use flash on artifacts. Damn it, it's already lit. This shit is probably the Christians doing. At some point they came here and tried to erase the ancient Egyptian religion, evident by them scraping off the faces of carved gods and some temples, as well as carving over some writings. I've personally touched a couple of signatures. If I remember correctly, one said Victor and another said Elizabeth. I hope they boned in a temple, that'd be kinda hot. I guess that's how people tagged locations before spray paint was invented.
One thing I learned from visiting the pyramids was the fact that humans are really powerful if they decide to work together towards a single goal, which was the case of the pyramids.
This is what I look like when I came out of the pyramid. I'm so sweaty and so tired.
In the evening of my last day, I stepped out to take a boat ride across the River Nile. This is the River Nile, and on the left and on the right you can see a lot of cars passing. There's a major road here and there's a major road on the other side. This was a great highlight of my very eventful trip, and we had a buffet served to us on a moving cruise ship. This took 1 hour and was a great way to experience the nightlife of Cairo.
I do enjoy night cruises. It's a nice way to end his visit, in my opinion.
So, should you come to Egypt? Well, if you are someone who is a regular traveler who is just coming to stay in a hotel and experience the sights, and if you're ready to face all I've said so far, then be my guest.
I agree, but as I always say, don't let me, Tayo here, or anyone tell you whether to visit or not. We simply serve to document and present facts to help you decide for yourself.
If you're a creator like me who loves to experience and document places, then I would say you are going to face some tough restrictions to your creativity, and on no account should you bring a drone. I wouldn't be in a rush to come back here anytime soon. Going forward, I'm more focused on exploring and telling stories about places that are very welcoming to tourists. Traveling is already hard and expensive as it is, so it really doesn't make sense for me to go to places where I feel unwelcome or uneasy.
King, same dude. The only reason I could see someone doing that knowingly is to document it, as he has done. And if they come back for seconds, they deserve it all. At that point, I know I wouldn't be looking back for a second once I'm out. If ever. I'm starting to lose hope at this point.
This is majorly a reflection of the government and not on the people of Egypt. Most of the people I came across were pretty chill.
Yes, my brother. What's your name?
My brother from another mother.
My brother.
He is mostly right. Putting my personal gripes with the Egyptians aside for a second here, they were objectively better when things were better. I guess being in a shitty environment and being made to be poor and ignorant, as has been happening systematically over the past few decades here, does bring out the worst in them.
I believe things should be put in place to ensure more tourists have a great experience, especially for a country that makes 12% of its GDP from tourism.
Okay, great video. Thank you, sir, for this video. As usual, I cut out a lot of footage to save time and to not rip off the whole thing. If you found this interesting, you would absolutely love to watch the full thing. I'll link it downstairs. On your way down to the link, why don't you give it a like, a subscribe maybe? Why not join the Discord? You seem like a lot of fun to hang with. And at this point, why don't you go to that link and buy me a coffee? It makes my day, earns you a spot on my intro, and a shout out. Please, and thank you. Okay, bye.